All right, guys, the time has finally come. We are down to doing the T56 Magnum swap. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. Before we get into this, I want to give a big thank you to Grannas. Without his help on this, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, buddy, thank you very much for taking care of me and sponsoring this series. But now let's go ahead and get into this, and I'm going to show you everything that comes in the kit and the step-by-step instructions of what you need to do. I'm going to show you first off what comes in the kit. Now, some of these parts you don't have to get, some of these things you won't need. In my opinion, if you're going to make your life easy, and this just isn't saying because this is the Grannas series, but this is what makes it easy, is that you order everything from Grannas' website or Grannas Racing. You make one click, one shop, and everything is sent to your doorstep. You don't need to find extra bolts. There's nothing, there's no like, well, I need to get this from this guy and this. No, he sells you everything down to, if you want, they will sell you a brand new Toyota 6-speed panel for your Supra. He has everything in stock, guys. It's not like, oh, I have this or that. He has everything there. The transmissions, which I'll get to here, come directly from Tremec down in Texas, right to your doorstep. There's not many places that do stuff like this and give you a true kit and has everything for you. This series is going to show you how to install it, what your tools you're going to need, and how to go about it. All right, guys, so let's make this simple, and we'll start with the best part of this kit, and that is the T56 Magnum from Tremec Performance. Now, what you'll get is a brand new Tremec transmission. It will come directly in the box you see beside me here. Again, it will be shipped directly from Texas. Joel doesn't take any chances having it shipped to him, plus cutting down on cost-wise. They ship it directly to you from your house. It usually comes via UPS. Some of the things I'm going to point out for you guys right away is this is not the T56 that most people think of. Most people hear the name T56 and they think of the old Vipers from the 90s, the old Camaros and Firebirds. This is not that transmission. This T56 Magnum is based off the TR6060 found in the new Hellcats, and the new Dodge Viper Gen 5s, and some of the new Camaros. The center section of this transmission, the internal guts of it are pretty much identical to a TR6060. Now that's where it ends. The rest of the transmission is its own setup. Also, the T56 Magnum is not found in any stock car. T56 Magnum itself is an aftermarket transmission. They don't sell this for any particular car. This is solely designed and made for aftermarket use. The next best thing about this transmission is warranty. You get a warranty with this transmission, and for what I've seen so far, there's almost no questions asked. If you break one, you send it off to Tremec. It takes a little bit, 4 to 6 weeks if they do break it, and they'll replace it. Now, hearing the word break, you're already thinking, well, if it's going to break, am I going to have problems? No. When I mean break, I mean you're talking some absurd power. To put it in perspective, this transmission is rated for 700 foot-pounds to the wheels. The V160 that is known to hold 1,600 wheel horsepower, 1,200 foot-pounds of torque, is only rated for 550, to put it in perspective. So if you're breaking this, you're making some serious power, or you need to shift a little bit better. But yeah, this thing will hold all the power in the world. Some things I want to point out is the stock mount here, or the stock shifter area. This will be removed, which I'll show you here shortly. The tube here, we're going to have to modify this here. This little cap here needs to be removed. There's a little rubber washer inside of here that prevents this from breathing properly. I'll show you step by step how to remove this and replace that. Another couple things is this. Two other things you're going to want to do is there's a plug over here you're going to want to install. I've already installed this, or Grannas actually already installed it in this transmission for me, and the reverse lockout here. On the modern cars, you can see there's a plug here in the back. They are actually actuated by a motor. Since we don't have this and we don't own GTRs, what you need to do is remove this, and we cut down the spring. Again, I'm going to show you how to do that step by step, how to remove this and how to get that spring out of there. But I just wanted to show you that. Again, the shifter comes off. It is a slip-in style. This isn't like a V160 rebolted up, which makes it much, much easier to install this. You slip in the yoke and then the back 4-bolt 1320 bolt. Makes it easy to install this transmission. One thing you'll notice too, the snout of this transmission is much bigger and thicker than the V160. Actually, even the pilot bearing itself has to be custom. The snout here is actually, I want to say, a couple thousandths bigger. I just looked at the new pilot bearing. That's something you guys want to look at too. So that's pretty much the transmission itself, guys. If you have questions, again, down below, ask me questions or any concerns you have. But now let's move on to the rest of the kit and all the parts that come in it. All right, so first thing up here, guys, I'm gonna go over the bell housing. This is from QuickTime. First thing I'm gonna say is you're gonna see this little plate inside, and then you'll get a little note here. This is what Joel, I think, put on there for me. I'm not sure if he does it for everybody, but this plate, plain and simple, ignore it. There's no point in this. This is for some Mustangs, for some Camaros to make these QuickTime bell housings work for starter reasons. So you can completely ignore this. What you'll also get is the paperwork with some QuickTime decals inside the box. It has some warranty and it has some instructions for other cars, which again, you're not gonna need to worry about that. Now with the QuickTime bell housing, one thing I'm gonna say that Joel does that no one else does, you'll see there's a tab right here. What he does is, there's tab needs to be trimmed down. No one else does this. He goes ahead and actually trims that down. These are gonna need these bolt holes and stuff here, but he trims this tab down because if not, I believe something hits it. I forget what it is, I apologize. But he trims it down, it needs to be done, and he does it himself. Makes it kind of nice. This is also set up with all the proper hardware, which you'll see right here. These are the bolts you'll see, guys. Now, and here's another thing that Joel does that other people don't. QuickTime includes bolts with them, but they're all wrong. So not really sure why they include them. So Joel makes his own kit that's actually proprietary just for his stuff. And it comes with everything, even the correct starter bolts, which are different lengths. So this is everything you need, guys, all the washers, every bolt. And this is not just to the block, it is also to the transmission itself. This is everything you'll need. So now let's move on to the next part of the kit. Next we have, guys, is the actual mount for the transmission to the body, which again, comes with all the hardware you need. This is the hardware itself. He even says here, make sure you use Loctite for this, but this is for the body. Then we have the Prothane mount here. This bolts up to the bottom of the transmission, and these two bolt here. This bolts to the actual cross member, and this bolts to the transmission. Again, it comes with these, the bolt to the transmission, and this actually goes into the rubber mount itself. Again, this is all stuff that Joel supplies, and it comes with all the right fittings. This is actually supplied by Prothane. These two here are also supplied by Joel, so unless you buy from him, you're not getting this stuff. Next up, we have some of the shifting components and the clutch here. First thing I'm gonna start with is the Clutch Master clutch. For my sake, I actually went with a single disc, full face. I actually take these out here. It comes with all the hardware, so all these bolts for the pressure plate to the actual face of the flywheel and the clutch itself. It comes with all that hardware. Now, one thing I will mention, that is an option. You can reuse a W58 flywheel if you like. My car didn't have it, so I opted for a new flywheel. Again, this is the full face Clutch Master clutch. And you can see it came with the billet flywheel there. I personally, like I said, I opted for that small option, and it came with these bolts. The next thing you'll get in that kit too will be the Clutch Master throw-up bearing. It is a hydraulic style throw-up bearing, so it's much smoother and has better contact on the teeth itself. It will come with all the shims, it will come with all the pressure lines. You have the top feed and the bottom return. I'll show you guys how to properly install that, and two bolts to fit it all on. You also, if you want to, you can opt for the Clutch Master, not Clutch Master, but Grannas Racing has a kit and a line that runs down to these lines for the feed. This is something he has on his website, and it feeds right directly from the stock Toyota Master Cylinder, or you can opt for the Tilton Master Cylinder. I personally still have a stock Toyota Master Cylinder, so there's no need to change from this, so I plan on using this with the correct fittings. I wanted to mention also, when you buy this flywheel kit, it comes with all the hardware. So most of the time you have to end up buying ARP hardware. Clutch Master supplies their own hardware for their flywheels. Just make sure to use red Loctite, which again, once I start installing this, I'll show you all that to you. Here's another thing I opted for. So you can either get a factory plastic pilot bearing tool, or you can buy this nice billet one from Joel. It's actually quite cheap. When you're installing this, the clutch and everything has to be on the car already. You have to put the bell housing on first and then the clutch. So if this isn't lined up perfect, the teeth and the snout of the transmission is not gonna slide in well, and you're gonna have a bad time. So you're better off having this, and make sure when you line it up, there's no deflection with that plastic snout on there. It's gonna deflect some when you're installing this clutch. So I highly recommend doing this. If you don't, you can't say I didn't tell you so. Another thing is, they come with a custom pilot bearing because the snout of that transmission is larger, like I was saying earlier. This pilot bearing is actually larger than a stock Toyota one. So this is another thing that's supplied in the kit. Next up, we have what everyone keeps talking about. We have the Sdi shifter. Now, I've heard some people say some things about it with these bolts over here coming loose. Joel has already talked to Sdi. These are now thread locked on with red Loctite, so they do not come loose. Another thing is people said about them leaking. I showed you guys earlier there the fix for the leak. Why it was causing a leak is there was building up pressure inside. That little rubber stopper I was telling you about earlier fixes that issue, and no other problems really with it. This is a very tight shifter, I will admit. I've tested it over at Grannas' shop. It is a very tight shifter, but it's very precise. If you ever watch Joel Grannas' videos, you see he doesn't miss a shift, and it's like a click in and out. It's not stiff like when I drove a CD009, but it's precise, and you feel first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. So it is very nice for that aspect. And then the last thing I opted for was the factory look for the shift knob. Now, I opted for the actual Grannas Racing shift knob, which actually looks just like the V160 knob. I opted for the shift cone too, so the boot fits over this perfectly. And it comes with the hardware to install on the sticky shaft. So this is some of the parts, guys. We got a few more things left, and then we can move on to actually installing the trans. All right, guys, and lastly is the drive shaft and some of the electronics. We have the Driveshaft shop 4-inch aluminum drive shaft. I talked to Joel himself. He ran this for quite some time until he upgraded to carbon fiber. He was making, and I'm going to repeat this, 1,700 wheel horsepower on this exact style drive shaft, which is probably around 1,400 foot-pounds of torque he was probably making at the time. So needless to say, this is going to be all you're really going to need from most of you guys out there, unless you are a hardcore drag racer with an H pattern in it. I would say 99% of you aren't. Joel's pretty much the only one I've seen out there besides a few other people. There isn't many like him out there. So this is all you're gonna need. This also comes in the kit. With it comes the Driveshaft shop billet adapter. You'll need it for the 1320 yoke here. Sorry, not the yoke, the adapter. This actually bolts directly up to your Toyota adapter, and then this bolts directly to that. With comes all the hardware, which I have sitting back here. Again, Joel supplies all that because it comes in correct. The next thing is the Sdi Digital Box. I don't want to pick that up, but the Sdi Digital Box, this allows you to fix your speedometer. Not all cars need this, but if you have a Supra and you have a original gauge in your car, you're going to need this to update it and get it to work properly. If not, your speedo is going to be way off, or it may not work at all. So this is what you're going to use to set up your speedo and get it to work properly. This is just a couple bucks in the kit. I highly recommend this. And then lastly is you'll get these 3 plugs. Now these go directly to the transmission itself. It's a total of 6 wires. I'll show you step by step where they go, the speed, output sensor, etc. So I'll show you exactly where they go, guys. All right, guys, so you got to see the full breakdown of the kit. That is everything that's going to come with this from Joel Grannas. I wanted to do a breakdown video first. Like I said, I'm gonna make this a series, so there'll be one through whatever it takes me to make this as easy as possible. So we'll make this a series 1 video, and then we'll go on from here. Thank you guys very much again for tuning in today. If you want to see more of this and you want to see the next steps of the video, please stay tuned. Again, do me a big favor, go down below, check out grannasracing.com to get every tool and every part you've seen in this today. If you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to email me or Joel Grannas himself with any concerns. Thank you guys very much, and I'll talk to you later.